Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Today I want to talk about my new 3D printer. This here is a Creality CR-10 Mini. I recently got this printer and I really like it. So in the video today what I want to do is unbox a printer, get it set up, talk about a workflow to get some test prints running, and then fast forward several months to give you my impressions on the printer. So if that sounds like more fun than a box full of bubble wrap, let's go ahead and rewind time and do the unboxing portion of this video. Alright, so I guess the first order of business is to get it out of the box. Before we do that, I don't think there's anything that's super interesting about the box other than I guess you can see here that even though I bought this from a US distributor that shipped from a US location, clearly its point of origin was this was made in China here. It says, yeah, net weight about 11.1 kilograms. Yeah, I believe this is kind of heavy. It's probably, yeah, I believe it's near 25 pounds, something like that. But other than that, nothing really exciting about the box. Like I said, pretty generic packaging. But then again, I don't think this was ever designed to be something that's going to be sold on a shelf somewhere. So I guess I'm not surprised. So let's go ahead and open it up, take a look. Hey, look at that. Actually, this is actually nicer packaging than I thought. So it's protected by a nice sheet of foam, so that's great. And aha, here we go. Let's see what we've got in here. All right, we're gonna have to kind of carefully disassemble. So I guess I'll pull this top part out. Okay, and tell you what, I'm gonna set this to the side. We'll come back to this in a second. All right, it's like another, yeah, this is actually very well packed. Look at this. Everything is got nice foam around everything, so this is great. I'm actually fairly impressed by the packaging. I've got a big box here. Let's go ahead and look at him. I imagine this is just hardware and bits and bobs and things like that, but you never can tell. Okay. All right, let's take a look here. What's inside this box? Okay. Great, so this is some Creality declaration of conformity, whatever that is. Great, all right, we'll set that off to the side. Ooh, CR-10 series 3D printer guidebook. To make top quality 3D printer, to be the chief evangelist. I don't know what they're saying here, but hopefully I'll be able to decipher this booklet, because it looks like it's got information on, yeah, what you've got in here, yeah, how to install, so perfect, how to set it up. So this actually looks halfway reasonable. So we'll take a look at this in more detail later when we actually assemble the printer. Okay, what else have we got here? Oh, all right, you've got standard US plug, so that's beautiful, we're gonna need that. Oh boy. All right, and now, yes, lots of stuff. So we've got some tape here. I imagine that's for probably on the bed. Yeah, a whole box of bits and bobs. Boy, oh boy, more bits and bobs. So we got a micro SD card. That's actually kind of nice. I imagine this probably has firmware on it, but look at this, you got micro SD card, an 8 gigabyte micro SD card, along with a micro SD card to USB adapter. So that's kind of nice that that's included. Perfect. Let's set that off to the side. We've got a USB cable. Oh, that's nice. We even got some filament, so we can start probably printing right away. 1.75 millimeter white PLA, about 200 grams of it. That's even nice. It's got some nice tasty silica inside, so this will stay hopefully nice and dry. I believe this is parts for the spool holder, for the filament spool holder. Great. All right, we've got the feed tube. All right, and some tools here. So let's just obviously scrape it off of the bed once you've got a print done. So again, this is actually very nicely packaged, so you've got a lot of stuff here. All right, let's see if we can get some other components out of the box. What have we got here? So we've got the main module, and this is actually all integrated, so I think I better be a little careful how we get this out. Okay, and now get rid of the box. Okay, let's see. All right, I think we can kind of work the power supply out. Oh yeah, there we go. Okay, great. Okay, it's coming out. Again, this is a very nicely packaged. I'm very impressed. Okay. And it is connected here to the fan slash extruder up top. So we're going to have to be a little careful how we get the assembly out. Let me see here if there's like an easy way to do this. Maybe we should just rip the foam. Yeah, there we go. All right. There we go. Be careful with the Z-axis motor as well. And perfect. There we go. All right. This frame is out. Let's see if we can slide that off to the side. Okay. We'll lay him down. Perfect. Okay. And now, let's see. What can we do now? I guess we've still got the bed and this part now to get out. Okay. We've got an adjustment wheel. But again, maybe what we need to do is the same trick. Let's just see if we can kind of tear the foam a little bit and extricate the bed from this foam packing. All right, almost. There we go. Okay, perfect. Whoopsies. Oh, and another wheel came off. That's all right. Okay. So there we go. So this, I think, is everything that came with the CR-10 Mini. So let me see if we can lay this out a little bit so you can get a better view for everything. Let's see, hopefully that all fits in the camera. I'll move some of these components a little bit up so we can see them all. And I think the next step now is to figure out and go through the instructions to see how we get everything assembled. So let me pause the camera, I'll move this up to a workbench, and we'll start assembling the printer. So actually, before we start assembly, it might be a good idea to look through the contents of what was on that micro SD card that was included. So I've just loaded it up on the computer here, and you can see they actually include some pretty useful information. For example, in this instructions folder, they've got things like a packing list. I'm not going to run this executable because I really don't trust random EXEs that have been sent to me, but look at this. They've got a nice movie file which shows some of the installation. So let me go ahead and open this up and we can see what it looks like just to get a rough idea. It's pretty simple, it looks like. You take the base frame, it looks like, and again, there's no animation or sorry, there's no audio here, so I'm going to have to provide the audio. Looks like you just stick the Z gantry frame on top, you stick those M4 screws in, and then you just attach the Z limit switch and you turn it, and those T-nuts will then lock into place. And then it's a matter of just hooking up all the stepper motors to the control box, which you can kind of see there. And that's the video. So again, it's pretty interesting. No audio commentary to go along with it, but it shows you it should be hopefully pretty quick. There's some other information about just general instructions and setup and troubleshooting. I poked through these. It wasn't super helpful. But coming here in the second folder, they actually include a Cura executable. So I don't know why they included this when really you can just go to Cura's website. So just type in Cura to Google and you'll find the software, and you can download this for free and get the latest version. So I think I'm just going to do this. I use Cura already, so I'm just going to upgrade. And I'll just get it through the normal website, not this random executable. I'm sure it's fine. Coming back up a level, I guess they have software drivers for whatever reason. I don't think I'm going to need those. So let's go back up to the base root. Reference data, I really don't know what a lot of this is. It's not terribly helpful to me at this point. So I'm going to come here to this fourth folder called Moodle. This is I don't know why they called it this, but if you dig into here, actually what they've got is a bunch of G code, which can already be loaded up onto the printer. And they've got STL files with different things like, if you come into here, they've got different parts that are able to be printed for the Creality CR-10 Mini. So for example, here's a Y-axis wire protection, a strain relief bracket, and the associated cover. So that's kind of nice that inside this folder they've got a bunch of stuff that you can already print right away, either just directly loading in the G-code, or if you want to manipulate it in Cura with the STL. Like, for example, let me do that. I'll show you. I already loaded a bunch of these up into Cura. And here's a lot of these parts that already come pre-included with the system. So again, there's these brackets and these covers, and I guess these are maybe different mounting points. I'm going to have to play with that a little bit. And then they've got this funny little cat here that might make a good calibration to start with. So all in all, that's pretty helpful, all this information on this SD card. So with that being said, since we've watched the installation video and we've read the installation instructions, let's go and see if we can put the printer together. All right, so let's start getting it set up. So the first thing to do is let's carefully cut the plastic off of the heated bed so that we can extract it, or not extract it, but at least we can see how it moves and make sure it's on tight. So we'll just take this shrink wrap off. Okay, there's one layer of it, and then, oh, some more. All right, here's the bed. Okay, let's see how it does. So the first thing we're going to want to do is, let's flip it over and check to see the fit. So I'm going to grab a towel or something soft, flip this guy over. Aha. Okay, so the first thing is, look at this. Actually, looks like we lost two of the wheels, so those must have come off during assembly or during shipping, but luckily we've got those here, so I'll go ahead and reinstall these guys. All right, so next we're going to check, see how the fit of the wheels, these rollers, are on the overall frame. So you can see that when I roll it, some of them engage and some of them don't. So let's go ahead and we will take the supply tool and we're going to try to tighten up some of these to get them to all contact and make positive connections between the roller and the frame. All right, so I think we've got that adjusted nicely. It's not too tight and it's not too loose. It's kind of right there in the Goldilocks zone where if we move this back and forth, the rail slides smoothly and the bed does not wiggle relative to the rail. So this is great. While we've got this upside down, let's go ahead and take our bolts. We got 4 of these, and we're just gonna stick them through the holes. There. Great. And now what we can do is let's turn this guy right side up. I guess we can get rid of this. Oops, some of those bolts popped out. That's okay, we'll put them back in a second. Okay. And now what we can do is let's go ahead and grab the Z-axis gantry. All right, so here's the Z-axis gantry. So we're going to go ahead and grab the supplied clippers, and we'll clip off the zip tie here. And similarly, one on the other side. Get that out of the way. And now what we're going to be able to do is just position it right over those bolt holes that we passed through the bottom. And we'll just take those bolts down here and we will screw them in using the supplied Allen. So I'll do that and I'll be back in just a second. All right, so this is tightening up the last of the bolts under there, and I think we're done. Okay, so now let's spin this guy around and we'll get access to the Z-axis lead screw here, and we're going to clip off these zip ties, and we're going to remove this piece of protective foam. There we go. Okay, and now what we want to do is down here, let's just go and make sure that the set screws for this housing are actually tightened onto the lead screw. I've seen some people where this was loose, and when you spin it, where the motor spins, the Z-axis did not move. So let's check here. Oh, no, this is doing great. Look at this. See, as soon as you turn this, yep, the whole Z-axis moves up and down. So I think we're in good shape. Okay, great. So on to the next step. All right, so now that we've got motion on the Z-axis, let's just go ahead and raise the Z-axis up a little bit. And I'll spin this a little bit closer so we can get a better view of the side here. Because what we want to do is next we're going to install our angle brace that also includes the Z-axis limit switch. So this limit switch, when the Z-axis comes down and hits it, should basically tell us we're at the bottom. Now, if you notice, this thing has these slotted T-nuts that are able to turn. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to align these in the same direction as the channel so that they go in, and then when we tighten them up, we want to make sure that they turn 90 degrees and they lock into the channel. So that's a little bit of some finagling, but I think we're going to be able to get it to happen. So I'm going to try to align these first. So I'm going to make these vertical ones straight up and down and the horizontal ones to the side. That way it should hopefully go into the track. Okay. And there we go. All right. And now we'll go take the provided Allen wrench, and we're going to try to turn these and try to make sure that those T-nuts in the back turn 90 degrees so they lock in. So let me go ahead and do that, and I'll be back in a second. All right, so we've got the brace installed that has the Z-axis limit switch. Now, before we move on to the next step, what I've gone ahead and done is I've labeled actually each one of these stepper motors. So this one here drives the X-axis. The one back here drives the Y-axis, and finally the one down here drives the Z-axis, as we saw. And maybe the last one to look at is up here. This one drives the filament extruder. Okay, so the reason I wanted to call that out for these 4 different stepper motors is our next step involves grabbing the main control unit. And the main control unit has all of these loose wires coming off of it. But the nice thing is each one of these loose wires, if you look, they've labeled with these little yellow tags. Let me see if I can rotate this so you can kind of see. See, this one says Z, and actually I think both of these say Z, right? These two say Z. So these 2 wires are going to get plugged into the appropriate locations either on the Z stepper motor or on the Z limit switch. So we'll do that for the Z, and then here are the labels for Y, and then we should also have 2 labels for the X-axis. Let me see, I think, yeah, here we go. Here's X and X, and then finally an E here for the filament extruder. So next step is literally just plugging all of these wires into all of the stepper motors. So I'll go ahead and do that, and we'll be back in a second. All right, so we've got all the stepper motors and the limit switches connected to the control box. Next, we're going to go ahead and grab the wire that comes off of the extruder, and if you notice, this has got a bunch of pins here, and we'll also grab the pins coming off of the heated bed. You can notice this one only has 4 pins. And then all we need to do is connect them to the back of the control box. And you can see that it's pretty much idiot proof. So both the direction, you can see there's a notch here at the top, which corresponds to the notch in the top of each one of these pins, or these male connectors. So we're just going to go ahead and plug them in to the control box, and we'll be back in a second. All right, so the last thing to plug in and connect is the PTFE tube from the extruder to, from the hot end of the extruder here to the extruder stepper motor. So we're just gonna go push it in. All right, and that should be installed. All right, and while we're sitting here staring at the control box, let's make one other adjustment. So notice here that this control box is ready for international usage. It could either be 230 volts or, well, they say 115, really they mean 120 volt AC, but since we're sitting here in North America, I'm going to switch this over to 120 volts, or 115 they call it. There we go. Just slide it over, and I think we should now be getting closer to ready to run. All right, so next let's go ahead and get the filament holder installed. So we'll go ahead and take the 2 of the provided thumb screws, take the bracket, put on top of the power control module, and just go ahead and screw it in. All right, great. Then we can take the provided spool holder. We'll just go ahead and remove this kind of plastic nut off the back, press it in, and then just reinsert the plastic nut on the back. And all right, there we go. Here's our spool holder. So let's go ahead and cut open the provided PLA sample. And we can go ahead and find the end. Pop it free. Let's go ahead and cut off this last part of it using the provided clippers. And we'll just hang it on the spool holder. And then we'll press it through the filament extruder here until it's in the tube. All right, so next let's get this bed ready. So we'll pull the y-axis forward, and then we're going to take off the glass plate. You can do that by just removing these binder clips. The glass plate should just come right off. Okay, this is nice. It's actually sealed in plastic, so let's go ahead and take the plastic off. All right, so a very nice glass sheet for our build base. Set this aside for now. It looks like they provide this nice sheet of solid masking tape, I guess, which is the same size as the build plate, so we can put that on top to get a little bit of extra adhesion if we want. I don't think we're going to use this, so I'm going to set this aside. And then I'm going to put the glass plate back on top of the heated bed. And I'm just going to go ahead and clip it down again. Now, a few of these wires get a little bit close to other components. So for example, if you take a look at this cable from the extruder, it gets pretty close to the Z-axis lead screw. And then another particular place that could be a potential problem is this here for the Z-axis limit switch. You can see that the wire might have the potential to get in the way of the actual limit switch. So I'm going to go ahead and use some of the supplied zip ties and clean up some of this wiring so that everything is nice, clean, and is not going to cause any interference. So again, give me a couple of minutes to make those cleanups with the zip ties, and I'll be back in a second. All right, then we're going to take our IEC power cable, plug into the back of the control unit, and plug the other end into 120 volts AC. All right, so now let's take off the protective plastic on front of the LCD and reach around the back and flip it on, and we'll see if we're live. There we go. So it's booting up. Let's give it a second. All right, so what we're going to want to do right now is to actually bring the Z-axis all the way down to what it thinks is Z equals 0. So to do that, I'm going to actually use the auto home feature. So I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to go down to prepare, and then scroll down to auto home. And when I click in here, you're going to see what that's going to do is it's going to move the extruder all the way to basically 0, 0, 0. And now the Z-axis is going to go down, and hopefully it's going to hit that Z-axis limit switch and stop at where it thinks is Z equals 0. And there we are. So now we're actually ready to level the bed. So we want to make sure that the nozzle is the same distance from the bed at all locations. So what we're going to do now is let's just go ahead and turn it off. What that's going to do is it's going to allow us to move these stepper motors and move the extruder manually. So I want to leave the Z-axis at Z equals 0, but I'm going to move the bed in and out and move the extruder left and right. So to do that, let's turn off the control module. And now we see that you can move the bed, and we can move both the X and the Y, but we don't want to touch the Z. So this is great. So what we can do now is starting to think about leveling the bed. So to do that, we're going to go ahead and move this. I'm going to move this clip a little bit out of the way. All right, so I've tried to zoom in so you can see the extruder and the bed. And you can see right now that even though the system thinks it's at Z equals 0, you can see there's a huge gap between the extruder nozzle and the bed. So I'm going to take this piece of paper and just kind of wiggle it in and out between. You can see it doesn't grab. So I'm going to take the knob underneath here, and we're just going to turn this to bring the bed up. Okay, so I'm just going to turn, and we keep turning until it grabs, and there's about a paper thickness difference between the bed and the extruder head. So if I keep doing this, there we go. There we go. Okay, so that looks good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this a little bit. I'll move the bed, and I'll do it again. And what we're going to have to do is end up moving these 4 screws, or the 4 adjustment knobs on the bottom, to bring the bed up or down so that the distance between the extruder nozzle and the bed is about a paper thickness. So this is going to take a while, so as you can imagine, I'm going to go ahead and pause the camera, and I'll be back once I've got the bed level. All right, so we've got everything ready to go. The bed's leveled and everything's plugged in. So now we're going to need some slicing software to take 3D models and turn it into G-code that we can actually load onto the printer. One of the most popular slicing softwares around is called Ultimaker Cura. It's so popular that if you just type in Cura to Google, it's pretty much the first hit. So let's just go here and we will go ahead and again agree to their conditions, and we're just going to download, and in this case it's Cura 4.3. So I'm just going to download this and install it, and I'll be back in just a second. Alright, so the install finished and I've launched Cura. Now one of the first things we're going to want to do is set this up for our printer, our Creality CR-10 Mini. So I'm going to come up here to the printers and I'm going to say add a printer, and it is a non-networked printer. And I'm just going to go look for it down here. It should be under, here we go, Creality 3D. And there we go, the list populated. Perfect. I'm going to select CR10 Mini, and I'll hit add. And I'll just double check, and this looks like the right settings in terms of the print volume. So this looks good. Let's go ahead and hit next. And great, it's set up now to make G-code for our CR10 Mini. So the next thing we're going to need to do is to get something to print. So one of the coolest places to find 3D models is a place called Thingiverse. So just type that into Google, and this has basically got a ton of models and things that people have already made that you can download and print. So I'm going to look for calibration. And here we go. Look at this. This little calibration cube that has X, Y, and Z printed on it is going to be perfect. So I'm just going to go ahead and download all these files. And what it's going to do is it's going to download a zip file right here. And I'm just going to go ahead and unzip this thing. So I'll go extract all. And inside here, you'll see there's all kinds of stuff that's kind of cool. But the thing I want here is in files. There's an STL file, which is basically the 3D file. So if I go and bring this into Cura, I can literally, hopefully just grab, drag, drop, and voila, there's our little cube. So here it is. Here's our calibration cube. You can see what it looks like. It's a 3D model sitting in the middle of the bed. So the next thing I need to do is I need to turn this STL into G-code, or I need to slice it. So I'm just going to come down here to the slice button, click slice, and I can even click a preview if I want to see what it's going to look like. So this is what it's going to look like. And you can drag the layers so we can see that it's got a little bit of infill the way we set it up. But this is what it should look like. So that sounds great. What we now want to do is let's go ahead and save the G-code. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save. Okay, and it saved this to my D drive. And let's go ahead and take a look at that. So where did I put that? Ah, here we go. Here it is. Here's the G-code file. So this is now saved onto my micro SD card that I've inserted in my computer. So I just need to take the micro SD card out and bring it over to the printer, and let's see if we can print this cube. One thing I almost forgot to mention is how to get the print to stick to the bed. I found that Aquanet Extra Super Hold hairspray works really well. All you need to do is spray a generous amount directly onto the glass plate, and after it dries, you can print directly onto the glass. Alright, and here's a neat trick to get pieces off of the glass build plate easily. So right now, it's fairly stuck on there, but if you just take a solution of water and rubbing alcohol and you just spray it on a little bit, give it a second, and then you can basically just take your part and it should just pop right off. There you go. All right, so I think we are ready to go. So let's go ahead and print from SD card, and we'll go ahead and select that calibration cube we made. And all right, the bed should be heating up and we're off to the races. Alright, so check it out. It's done. It took a little over a half hour, but this is the first print I've ever done on my Creality CR-10 Mini. Let's see if we can get this thing off. Oh, look at that. It just pops right off. Let's take a look at this. Man, look at this. This is amazing. Look how well it printed. I am absolutely shocked. Well, I mean, other people have said that they haven't had any issues, but I guess I didn't believe them. I mean, look at that. This is the very first print. We don't even have to really calibrate it too much, and boy, this looks beautiful. I am thrilled with this. So, you know what? Let's get another job on and see how it does. All right, sorry, the battery on my time-lapse camera ran out, but here it is. Look at it, it's looking great. Again, let's see if we can get this off. All right, this one's a little bit more stuck. Oh, there it goes, and it just pops off. Woo! Looky here again. Look at this. I am stunned at how well this turns out right out of the box. Look at this. You can see some of the layers for sure. I printed this at a 0.16 layer height instead of a 0.2 like we did earlier. It looks like there's some goop inside, but I think I can clear that out pretty easily. So look at this, a little cup made out shaped like a little Mario Boo. All right, so we're printing again, and while we're printing, let's actually check the power consumption. So what's interesting is it's sitting there around, 45 watts, but every once in a while, see, look at this, it jumps up. I think it's heating, so here we go, up to 260 watts, and then back down to 45 watts. So let's get a couple of cycles of this just so we can get an average power consumption and get an estimate of how much energy does it actually cost to print. All right, so there you have it. I hope this has been a helpful video showing you how I set up and use my Creality CR-10 Mini. I'm supremely happy with the printer. I've had it now for almost 3 months, and I've made everything from toys for my kids to parts for my van, and it's worked very well. I've done over 150 prints, and the printer has been rock solid. It's consumed over 2.5 kilograms of material, and it's been running for over 400 hours with almost no issues. Now, that isn't to say it's been all roses and butterflies. There have been some failed prints, as you can kind of see from my graveyard of unusable parts up here, but I'm consistently, for the most part, impressed with the quality of the parts that the printer generates, along with how easy it is to go from just a conceptual idea to a physical part. If you're interested in some of the details of this workflow, please feel free to check out some of my other videos on Fusion 360 and 3D printing. So, I think this is a great place to end it. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and if so, I also hope you'll consider subscribing to the channel. Surprisingly, if you just scroll a little ways down and just click on that subscribe button, it really does help me continue making these videos. So, with that being said, I really hope I'll catch you at one of these future discussions. Bye!